The James Show Podcast.
Now that we've had 24 hours to digest this, the original Facebook post that I was reporting on yesterday, a lot of other people who share your sentiments about the event were saying some of the things that you heard on yesterday's show. And his response to them does not help the idea that he's just an open-minded guy and who doesn't hate Christians. He's just standing up for his own community. No, check out this report. This is from the Nick's Right podcast, and Nick will be in studio for tomorrow's show to give a little more depth on this, but he dug up and took a whole bunch of screenshots of what this Zul Muhammad guy responded to the critics on his Facebook post for the rally against rednecks that he's trying to put together for Frisco, June 2nd.
This guy is someone we've been talking about a lot. His name is Zul Muhammad. He's running for mayor of Carrollton, Texas. That's what's 2 R's and 2 L's. May seem harmless, but this guy has 106 felony accounts, and he's currently on probation, allegedly. What, you might ask, of what his convictions are? Oh, that's right. Voter fraud, harvesting ballots. And we've reported on him a few times, but I want to show you just what kind of guy he really is. And I'm only going to give you examples of what he says in his own comment section. He put out an ad that was about a rally against rednecks out in Frisco, Texas, mind you. And he's running for mayor of Carrollton, by the way. Are you tired of hearing low-class people blame your culture for their problems? And we've talked about this before, but let's get to the comments. This guy, and I'm going to blot out his name, but he says, you know what, llama is not compatible with Western society. Well, Mr. Zul comes back and says, dumb Christians think Jesus will fly down from the sky if we, you know what, other nations. It is them that aren't compatible with the rest of the world. Wow. How about this one? I think this one actually breaks his probation. Don't matter what you think hillbillies are or not, this is our you-know-what country. Get the you-know-what out, or you're going to find out what rednecks are all about. And he says, F you, I can crush you. He continues on, I would, you-know-what, the cornbread stuffing out of you-know-what. These are out of his comment section. These are his actual words. My question is, does this count towards breaking his probation? Doesn't that actually count as a threat? And you can't threaten anybody while you're on probation. Make sure to follow us on Substack at Nick's Right Podcast so we can talk about these things a little bit more freely.
Okay, so I'm not too concerned about his probationary situation. I understand he pled guilty to those voter fraud counts and he's appealing the sentencing. So I don't think technically he's been sentenced. And so I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned with the actual hatred that was in the comments. Christians aren't compatible with the rest of the world. How many times have you been called a racist for saying Muslims? The Muslim ideology is not compatible with the rest of the world. Would you get away with that? Because, you see people be accused of racism for legit criticism of the Muslim world on a quite often basis here. Like in this one where Trump says all Somalians are crooks.
These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. Just talking about one person, he got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, they're crooked as hell.
Yeah, so Trump said that earlier this week, and the response to that is, oh my God, it's racist. That's so racist. Really? What race are the Somali people? That's a nationality, sir. He's not talking about all blacks. That would be a racist comment. But when you talk about everyone from a certain tribe, mindset, ideology, nationality, these are not racist. He's not judging them based on their skin tone. We do not put them in the same category as a Kanye West. They're not in the same category as Anthony Davis, okay? They're different. So let's go to Kumar in South Lake. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Kumar.
Hey, James, how are you?
I am well.
Fan of yours.
Go ahead, Kumar.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, so this H-1B thing is a huge fraud, man. They got to get out of here.
Explain.
They need to be. They think it's a privilege. They're privileged to be here. They don't think that the visa is a privilege for them. The moment you talk about them, about the fraud, you get the racist stamp on them. They're just full of what do you call, casteism and nonsense. Every job that has been taken by H-1B is a fraud. Almost 99%.
Well, your name's Kumar and you have an accent. Are you an H-1B guy?
Oh, yeah. I'm also partly, responsible because I didn't speak out before. Because I thought they're part of the community, but they're just fraudsters.
Yeah, that is so nice to hear that you feel responsible because you didn't speak up before. Well, give us some advice. What can we do? How do we stop this, Kumar?
The companies need to suck up the cost, man. The companies and the politicians are at fault.
How do I know you're not just racist against Indians?
How do you know me? I mean, if you know me personally, you would know.
It's just kind of a joke. Clearly, you're not. I don't think it's all the companies here, because one of the problems that we're seeing is they create shell companies, and those shell companies are bringing in H-1Bs that aren't legit and shouldn't be here either. So even if we get the legit companies to stop it, I mean, Kumar, I know we do get a lot of good people through the H-1B system, but I think most of us are willing to let those people go if it gets all these other fraudsters out with him. I mean, would you be willing to go back and sacrifice your H-1B if it got rid of all these other people too?
1,000%.
Wow. All right. Well, you must be a really good guy.
Man, I'm for America. I'm not somebody who wants to just suck the tips and spit on it.
Well, how long have you been here, Kumar?
20 years.
Yep, I hear you on that one. I'd hate to lose all the Kumars of the world if that's what it takes to get rid of the Zul Muhammads. But if we're not going to do this with a little bit of nuance, then we're going to have to do it with a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. Thank you very much. Good call, Kumar in South Lake. So this current storyline, the storyline we're talking about now, started on yesterday's show. A guy is organizing a rally for rednecks in Frisco. Now, since we had the show yesterday, there's been a couple of developments. So let's start out with the basics. They're aiming for June 2nd at the Frisco City Hall, and it's going to be out front. That's what he's trying to do. Now, there's some people who were thinking, is this just a guy who made some racist flyers and he's sharing them out on Facebook and he's just trying to get attention and no one's really following him or paying attention, or there's not even going to be a rally or anything he's going to go to. He's just trying to get some attention. Well, some people called Frisco, the city of Frisco, and they confirmed that they're aware of the plans for the rally, and he has reached out to them, and they couldn't comment on whether or not it was officially going to happen or not, but they were aware of it, and they didn't say, well, we're not aware of this. We weren't told about this. We have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, yeah, we're aware of it. They're like, well, is it going to happen? Well, we don't know. So the other part about this is the fact that it's called Rally for Rednecks. That's a racially charged slur against white people. Not very cool. I thought ethnic slurs were usually condemned in the court of public opinion, for all the woke people and all the hypersensitive people that's got a rash in their panties over a Sydney Sweeney blue jeans ad. You can see perceived implied racism in Sydney Sweeney's butt. But you have overt racism in front of your face. Sydney Sweeney didn't use any ethnic slurs. Sydney Sweeney didn't use any cartoon caricatures with racial stereotypes of white people missing teeth and wearing trucker hats and looking stupid and fat beer bellies. That should be wildly offensive to all you people who are racially insensitive about every other aspect of life. You see racism in a Tootsie Roll ad. You see racism in the end zone at the NFL. You see racism in people not wanting to vote for Obamacare or cut off food stamps. Oh, you'd see racism everywhere. There's actual overt racism where a guy's having a rally against rednecks using white caricatures. And how many people had it on their news last night? 0. Dallas Morning News have a big write-up for it? Nah. Dallas Express did. So all these other people who seem to be so concerned, well, we're just concerned about racism. We're so concerned about racism that we'll celebrate the destruction of a dozen major American cities for 6 months every weekend in 2020. Every riot over racism, we support it. We're so against racism. Well, what about this one? Nothing. Apathy. That's disgusting. One of the results I hope that happens, besides just the talk, is a little bit of action here. And if you're not on board, I want you to be a little open to the idea that the H-1B system has been so abused, it is not fixable. It needs to be stopped and ended and reversed immediately. Greg Steube, a congressman, has actually finally, someone's put up an act. They've actually put pen to paper and written a new law to end this. And he calls it the Exile Act. This was on Newsmax earlier this morning.
There is example after example after example from Microsoft to Disney where American workers are fired and then they hire people on H-1B visas who come into our country who are either, most of them, it's like 80% are either from India or from China. So we're displacing the American workforce for these H-1B visas. And that's not America first. I don't think that's what Americans support. We want to support Americans getting jobs. And I think it's important that Americans get these different positions, not we're farming the labor out to India or China or some other foreign country to bring in these different individuals who then a lot of these people overstay their visa and then get student visas and get all these different things. But we should be putting America workers first and not shipping in talent from other countries when we have the talent right here in the United States.
Yeah. So you remember when Dominic Alexander, do you remember that name? Does that sound familiar to you? When Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf in the heart at the Frisco track meet, did they go get a lawyer or did they go get a race hustler? They went and got a race hustler. And what did he do? He went and decried white racism as if the black people were the victims. The black community was the victims in this. A black kid stabbed a white kid in the heart. For what? Touching his arm? He murdered him in front of his brother's face in cold blood. Yeah, how dare you white people? You're so evil. You keep pushing your son's heart into the blades of our knives. Yeah, that's real oppressive there. So y'all can see racism in criticizing a kid getting stabbed in the heart, but not a guy making a caricature of white people on a flyer for Rally Against Rednecks. Where are you on that one? Dominic Alexander, you claim to fight racism. You fighting this guy? Or you only fight against white people? Because I don't think you fight against white people. Against racism. I think you just hate white people. And the pattern of your behavior proves it. You're a fraud, sir. So the mayor's race for Los Angeles is turning into almost just a referendum on homelessness on the policy front. If you get away from the policy front, it's all about how Spencer Pratt's just a dumb idiot reality TV star, doesn't know what he's talking about, not qualified. So it's just the same ad hominem stuff that you're going to be hearing, like, you know, Tyler Rico is a fake Christian and Ken Paxton's a sleazebag. The ad hominem stuff is kind of exhausting, but I do enjoy the discussion that people are having about the homeless problem, because that is something that we're having here. And when I say here, it's a problem in downtown Dallas. The homeless people are a problem in downtown Dallas. Go walk around, even on a weekday in the evenings. You go to that West End station over there, it doesn't even look, it looks like a setup. You're like, what is this? Is this like a zombie movie? Is this a dystopian future? Is this what happens in like Logan's Run or something like that? But if you want to understand why AT&T moved their headquarters out of downtown Dallas, that's it. It's the same thing that they're talking about in Los Angeles right now. Fort Worth doesn't have this problem. But Austin has this problem. Houston has this problem. San Antonio has this problem. So this seems to be a problem that is exclusively within the hyper blue urban areas only. So any rational person would say, well, what are they doing different in Dallas versus Fort Worth? Or in Dallas versus a Plano? Or in Dallas versus a Tyler or an Abilene or a Lubbock? So that's what's the most interesting part about this. Now, here's where the criticism comes from. Let me play you Jimmy Kimmel, who, strangely enough, this is supposed to be a comedy show. Imagine if you went to like the Improv in Addison and you paid $20 to get in and the comedian was doing this, you'd be like, are we at a comedy show? Because he's not even telling jokes here. He is just campaigning against Spencer Pratt. But It is a great example of the criticism that he's facing. It's all ad hominem.
So then you get a guy who was on a reality show, who's on a lot of reality shows. His profession is to be the screaming jerk on reality shows. And his house burns down. And even though he had no private insurance on his house and doesn't believe in climate change, he is understandably upset about his house burning down. And since he's a moderately famous person, he gets attention. He's on the news, he's on social media, and for the first time in his life, people are agreeing with what he has to say. It's hard not to agree with what he has to say. He's angry about the same problems a lot of people here are angry about. Does he have solutions to those problems? No. But at least he's acknowledging that they are problems. So then this angry reality show star, who grew up wealthy and popular and is not very wealthy or popular anymore, really starts to enjoy the attention. He starts to think, I should be mayor, which is a statement that should make everyone laugh. But not everyone is laughing. Not everyone sees this as a joke. Right now, if you believe the polls, 22% of them are going, you know what, you should be mayor. And not only are they telling him he should be mayor, they're even going so far as to give him money for his campaign, some of which he immediately spent on moving into a $1,500 a night room at the Hotel Bel Air. He's living at the Hotel Bel Air at the same time he's running a video claiming he lives in a trailer on the burned out lot where his house was, which he is not. He is living at the Hotel Bel Air and using campaign money to pay for that. And yet still there's a group of people, many of whom believe themselves to be liberals, who are so angry they're willing to overlook this.
Wow, man, almost all of that was a lie. Yeah, he is living in the Hotel Bel Air now that he has some campaign money, because people kept coming up to him in his travel trailer on his burnt out lot once they found out he was running for mayor and giving him hell. It was a safety concern, and his consultants, now that he has some money, campaign money, they're like, we can't protect you out there. You are just open to the wolves out there. And there are a lot of people who want to do you harm. And so, yeah, he moved into the hotel because he was getting so many death threats and people kept showing up at his property. And it's not safe to stay in a travel trailer when you're surrounded by 12 million people who want you dead. But when he made the commercial, when he started his campaign, he was living in a travel trailer. So, no, it wasn't a complete lie. Also, he doesn't even believe in global warming. What does that have to do with anything? Did that cause the fire? Is that what happened there? Global warming caused the fire? And then he said that he doesn't even have a plan. He doesn't even have a plan. He says he wants to get rid of homeless. He doesn't even have a plan. Yeah, he does. Here is Spencer Pratt, May 10th, 2026. And
first 3 weeks, signs up across the city. No more nakedness, no more drug use, no more robbing, no more
burning dogs in the street.
No more dog abuse. Yeah. On every sign, on every bar. And we're going to go around, we're going to warn everybody, hey, got 3 more weeks of this. Like, clock's ticking. Just keep telling everyone, so the people that are aware, they're like,
Anyway, so he goes through his little 3-point plan. So not only does he have a plan, he knows how long it's going to take. He knows all the steps. And Jimmy Kimmel's going out there. He don't have a plan. Yeah, he does. Why do you have to lie about it? And the answer to both problems, the immigration problem and the homeless problem, just enforce the laws as they're written. We don't even have to pass anything new. Just enforce the damn laws. Aaron in Plano, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hello, James. A long time ago, I read this quote from one of the many Indian princes who subsidized Gandhi's travels. And he said, it takes a lot of money to keep Gandhi in poverty. And the same thing with homelessness. Without the visual of homelessness, there's no money.
I don't know what you're saying.
It takes a lot of money to keep those homeless in poverty. And
explain. I don't get that.
Going to be. You don't get that. Well, that's the visual. That's what they need. They absolutely got to have homelessness in order to keep the homeless industry alive and thriving. They throw money at it and constantly, and yet it persists, and it seems to persist even with the blessing of the city officials, everything else. It's astounding, and it's frustrating, and I mean, that's why a guy like Spencer Pratt comes along and says, I'm going to get rid of all this. People like that. I mean, because it'll fester. It'll take over everywhere. It's cancerous because it's really drugs. It's nothing to do with, a pregnant illegal immigrant.
Okay, well, okay, you
Catholic
lost me
church,
for a
you
second
know?
there, because in economics, there's this real frustrating thing about how people or policies can cause poverty. And that's something that sort of sets my antenna buzzing, because almost nothing causes poverty the way it's described a lot, because poverty is the natural state. You do nothing, you start zero, you're at poverty. Poverty is just the absence of wealth creation. And so you don't really want to try and implement policies to alleviate poverty. You want to try and implement policies to allow for wealth creation. And so, you know, does a social program do that? Does the welfare system do that?
No.
Or do private charities do that? So yeah,
do it better.
Yeah, you kind of threw me off for a second because I thought you were going in a different direction, but I get it now. And the thing you're pointing out is something that we laugh at Los Angeles, we laugh at California, we laugh at San Francisco, we laugh at Seattle, because in the last 15 years, we've all watched them spend tens of billions of dollars on homeless programs for homeless to grow. And so you're right. The incentives are set up, if you do this through government, for homelessness to persist as long as they have programs. And in fact, the worse it gets, the more money they can argue that they need for the programs. But we're doing this here too. In fact, San Antonio did something that's almost exactly like that. I forgot what it was called, but like 5-10 years ago, they did this great homeless initiative and they threw billions of dollars at it. And their homeless problem has doubled since then. And so I'm just waiting for someone to try it here. But you're right. The social programs, like if you're in charge of housing and urban development, if you're charging the big public housing projects, you want there to be poor people, because if these people all get off of their feet and move out of the projects, you're out of a job.
Yeah, and Plano, amazingly enough, has cracked down on panhandling at intersections and things, basically chased that element out. And it's really been much for the better here. But suddenly you go south of the George W., every damn intersection. You know?
Oh, exactly. It's by choice. You choose whether or not your political leaders in whatever city hall you're in, they choose whether or not to tolerate homelessness is not a problem with your economy, not a problem with capitalism. It's a problem with who you idiots are electing. And I don't mean you people listening to WBAP. I mean the other people who aren't informed, who keep voting for idiocy like this. They're voting for it. It's Team Blue policies. All right, coming up next. Fantastic news. Exxon is moving their corporate domicile to Texas. They have already had their headquarters here. They've already had 75% of their workforce here and most of their refineries and their operations here. But this is a company that they were incorporated in New Jersey over 100 years ago. And finally, at the last shareholder meeting, they had to admit that it's just not financially smart to stay here when Texas exists. And they're voting to move. And the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey became Exxon. And after the split up, they became Exxon, the New Jersey version, from when the Rockefeller ran afoul of the political powers that be. And over the years, that Exxon has been choosing Texas over and over and over. Kind of like Ella Langley, if you know what I'm saying. And they wanted to build some refineries. So did they build refineries in New Jersey? Did they build refineries in Vermont? Well, the bulk of it's down here. So where do you put offices? Well, we have to have we're incorporated in New Jersey and our headquarters in New Jersey and most of our, administrations in New Jersey. But slowly they started opening offices here in Texas. Well, we have all these refineries down here. We have all these oil wells and pumps and pipelines and transmission and offshore. And so they kept moving more and more people there. And so finally, a few years ago, they decided, all right, screw it. We'll move our headquarters there, but we're still going to have the company's corporation domiciled in New Jersey. And so finally, after terrible regulations, where they're always treating big corporations like an enemy, like Lex Luthor, like some sort of problem to be resolved. They've had enough of the hate. They've had enough of the taxation, the overregulation, and they're cutting bait and moving to Texas. Michael Quinn Sullivan from Texas Scorecard breaks it down.
Shareholders in ExxonMobil approved yesterday the company's move of its legal domicile to Texas. The oil company's proposal originally faced opposition from one of the world's largest shareholder advisory firms. You might recall that last week, Attorney General Ken Paxton sued Institutional Shareholder Services for a number of issues, including that the firm was attempting to discourage Exxon's move for political reasons rather than the best fiduciary interests of investors. While 75% of Exxon's U.S. workforce is centered in Texas and the company has been headquartered in the state since 1989, it was incorporated in New Jersey back in 1882. The corporate leadership decided that moving its corporate domicile would, quote, maximize shareholder value because of Texas's policy and regulatory environment. So during Exxon's annual meeting yesterday, more than 2/3 of investors agreed and approved the proposed redomicile to the Lone Star State.
You know, the wording there is very business oriented, but in layman's terms, it's illegal to keep a company in a position that will hurt the shareholders if there's a better alternative involved. Do you realize the regulatory framework for running a business in New Jersey is so bad compared to Texas that the shareholders probably would have had a class action lawsuit against the board of directors if they didn't move? That's how bad it is. That's how important these rules are. Like I had Beau French on earlier today. You know why we give a damn about the Railroad Commissioner of Texas? Because he controls the oil industry. And as long as we keep getting things right in the oil industry, in our regulation, in our statecraft, in our economics, we're going to keep scoring wins like this. That is huge. That is fantastic to hear. You know how many Fortune 500 companies that we've stolen from California and New York and Seattle? It's going to keep happening as long as they keep making the same bad economic mistakes and we keep making fewer mistakes. We're still not doing that great. We're just the cleanest dirty shirt in the room. I want to leave you with a piece of wisdom here from Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson and Joe Rogan were talking about discipline.
Yeah. I don't care how good you are in anything. You don't have discipline, you ain't nobody.
Right.
You're nothing without discipline because you give up under the slightest struggle without discipline.
100%. And that has to be something that you also learn from Cuss as well.
I don't know what discipline is. I don't know what discipline. He told me discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it.
Doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. That is a great quote.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that, you could be successful in anything.
You normally are.
All right, Tim McGraw, the Pawn Shop Guitar Tour 2026 coming to Dos Equis Pavilion on September 11th. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. Listen to the WBAP Morning Show. Tomorrow, they're going to be giving away a pair of tickets for you Tim McGraw fans out there. Wasn't he great in 1883? Did y'all see that? That was kind of a different side of Tim McGraw I hadn't seen. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill were in that, the Taylor Sheridan prequel to Yellowstone. That was an amazing show.
The James Show Podcast.